Welcome to Quarantine Week 2, this week in 3D printing. So this week, I basically tried to challenge myself with some stuff that I wouldn't usually try. And I also fulfilled some orders for a couple of people who asked for things to get printed that didn't have access to a printer. So this is for my friend Cody. It is a couple of pieces that snap together, screw together. This is a replacement for the housing on the Ender 3. The control board is up front in Ender 3, and this allows you to repurpose it and move it to the back. The lid goes on top of it to hide all the components. Once it's in there, it slides into the aluminum extruded channels to be held in place. And it's also got space for a Raspberry Pi 3 that I believe Cody uses to control his printer for Octoprint. And that's the cover for that side. And it's also got room for a fan and some DC buck converters and some lines, voltage regulator smoothers, I think is what they were called, for better prints, just to take the variance out. So that took about the better part of a couple of days. I think it was like 16 hours, 12 hours, and a couple hours a piece on these pieces. And that's the end cap for the aluminum extrusion, just to cover it up once you remove the part, so that you don't have sharp ends at the front of it. So it's pretty cool. I might consider doing that myself now that I've printed them out, and they did turn out pretty well. The bottoms are a little suspect because the hairspray I needed to clean the hairspray off the bed on this one. But yeah, so that's Cody's. We had an issue with the Mailbox Flag for several years, so this week I designed and printed this. It's very simple. It's just a replacement mount for the flag on our mailbox. I also painted this bright orange and then clear coated it. You can see it was kind of faded before, so increase the visibility. But yeah, I like this a lot. I think it may not hold up very well because this is PLA. It might break down in the sun, but it's relatively cheap and inexpensive to print. It took all of like 2 to 3 hours, so I can print replacements in the future. Not a big deal. To show you what was holding it on, that's what was holding it on to the mailbox. So I replaced this piece, which you can see is in a very sad state of disrepair, with a 3D printed part. And I will probably drill the third screw hole. I didn't pre-populate it, so that's probably what will end up happening. So there's my flag for my mailbox. The next thing I printed was a bank. And it's kind of a cool bank. You can just throw your change in it. Give it a shake. And if you can see on the side, it's got indicators of what denominations should be in these tiers. So you take the lid off, and there's your quarters. Take the lid off of that, there's your nickels. Take the lid off of that one. There's your pennies. Uh-oh. There's your pennies. And there's your dimes. And then there's a bottom cup where you can put dollar bills. Obviously they don't get sorted through the change sorter. But I thought this was pretty cool. I would like it to be a little bit larger. As you see, you gotta really kind of be vigorous with it. And I've noticed that if you put too many quarters up top, it does block the holes up here. Like you can't probably fit more than like 5 or 6 quarters in there, because then it's difficult to get the change to bounce around and get through the holes. So if you're just sorting change and then sticking it in rolls, that's a great little bank to do it with. I like it. I had some trouble with my printer. You can see that I got extrusion issues here, down along the bottoms. I think this spool may have been not the best quality plastic, because I didn't have any issues after I changed the roll. So, but that's the bank. I really like it. And then I printed this. It is a combination Cryptid Lock, and I've already got it set. It's 1984 944 is the combination, and then it just slides right out, and you've got, you know, whatever you want to put in there, from change to money to USB flash drives or whatever. But I thought this was kind of neat. It's pretty complex. This took quite a while. There's a tool here that locks and unlocks it. You can make a 5-ring version of this, or a 7. This goes inside, opens up the locking mechanism off of it. There it is. And then this pops out. That's the bottom. And if you look at these, I don't want to mess with them too much, but they go on in a specific way. And the way you set the combination on them is there's an inner ring and an outer ring. And you can, I don't know if you can see that very well. There is an unlock padlock on the inner ring, and that's where you set the number, and that corresponds to these channels, which allow the device to be unlocked or to keep it locked if it's the wrong number. So they're pretty easy to change. It's a pretty fun little piece. I wasn't really sure about it. It took a lot of finessing to get it to print. I didn't really want to cooperate, but we got there, and I'm pretty glad. I think the end result, it definitely could use a little polish, but maybe a different color scheme. I think the black is a little bit more difficult to see than the reds, for sure. So maybe go back and reprint those as like a blue or a green or something. And yeah, you just line the number. You just line the arrows up here, and then this also has an arrow on it to indicate the direction. Before we do that, we'll put this locking piece back in it. There it goes. We'll get the combination back in line. 1984, 9, 4, 4. And you get the arrow lined up. Goes right in. Give it a spin. And it doesn't want to come apart. So that's pretty cool. If I had it to do over again, like I said, I'd change the color scheme, just to make it a little bit easier to read. But I really like it. And the last thing I got printed was this. This is a quick release phone stand, and it is quite intricate. You can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It was 19 pieces to print, and I had actually got a ballpoint pen to get the spring for it. But it looks like a little monitor stand for your phone. It articulates, so the arms come in to grab the phone as the slide goes down. You can adjust these nuts to adjust the position of it. And a phone does fit in it. This is specifically the iPhone 8 arms. Let's put my phone in it there. Yeah. So you can use that for watching videos on, your streaming services. I used it the other night in the bath because I gotta be honest with you, it was nice to have my phone up and out of the possibility of falling into the tub, or getting splashed from water. That's probably the most complex thing I've printed in a while. It's quite difficult to get all these pieces lined up. The Ender 3 did print them pretty well. I had enough tolerances to basically make sure everything fit without having to do a whole lot of filing or cutting of the inner diameters to widen the holes for things. I was having some extrusion issues again, as you can see with the red. I had quite a severe clog that I ended up having to replace the Bowden tube, and then that seems to have taken care of the issue. But this is pretty cool. I wasn't 100% sure I could get it to print, but I'm glad that I stuck with it and got it. I don't know that I would do another one because it did take many days for many parts. And it's still not quite, easy to manipulate, and I'm not 100% sure that ballpoint pin spring is gonna hold for the long run. But for now, it seems to do the job all right. And those are the things that I've printed today. And throughout the week this week. So, find something that keeps you busy, keeps you out of trouble, and stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next week.